Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, the audience. Thank you, the panelists. I want to start by honoring the panelists, if only two ladies. I want to start by honoring Beatrice. Beatrice has been a good friend. And when we went, no, don't laugh. When we went through a very difficult time as the war veterans, we were together with Beatrice. We had to come back again to do a change of government, to fight against another dictatorship. We did it as young people, the Smith dictatorship. We came back again as old and white-haired war veterans to remove the Mugabe dictatorship, and we were with her. Thank you, Beatrice. Yeah. I've worked with Jesse. I used to be boss at ZBC, so we come a long way. I do not subscribe to the litany of accusations which you have made against, of course, the government, trying to give the impression that you were impartial, but you were really putting the government to dock, and I don't think some of the accusations stand to test. I want to thank the minister who has put across a very considered view about the earnestness of the Second Republic in trying to make sure that the constitution, which was passed by both parties who are in government, who are in parliament today, but also by the public of Zimbabwe through a referendum, of which our president was one of the main legal architects, President E.D. Mnangagwa. You are trying to do a very difficult job under impossible economic circumstances to try to implement that constitution. Minister, I salute you. I don't doubt your sincerity. I also was together with you when we fought against Dr. Stopit Grace, the clinically made woman. So I know what stuff you are made of. Thank you so much. I want to go further to recognize the presence of the Ambassador of the Republic of South Africa, Ambassador Mbete. Somebody raised the issue of the training of the police. Somebody raised the issue of the arming of the police, particularly the removal of lethal weaponry from the police and replacing it with much more user-friendly crowd control techniques. South Africa has done its neighbor Zimbabwe a fantastic job. And if you consider what happened in January and earlier on in August and what happened recently, there is a world of a difference. Ambassador, that's what neighbors do to their friends when there are challenges. We really appreciate what South Africa is doing to help retrain our police. It has suffered under sanctions like many other aspects of our defense and security establishment, let alone the public. And you are rising to the occasion. We are neighbors. We are soul neighbors. You know, beyond just being neighbors, we acquired a political soul in common struggle. And you are showing it all the way. And the leadership which was shown in Dar es Salaam recently on the issue of sanctions is just another feather in the way we have handled the region together. Thank you, Ambassador. The bishop made a prayer and before this occasion, and afterwards he came and he gave an impassioned speech about the economic conditions under which Zimbabweans are living. I have no particular misgivings about what Justina was saying concerning, what government should do in terms of ensuring that human rights are exercised and seem to be exercised. But the economic conditions of a country are very, very fundamental to the realization of human rights. If we don't have conducive economic conditions, then everything becomes difficult, because when there's suffering, there's also a tendency to point fingers and to quarrel more than at another time. Because you are suffering, you are not sharing joy of prosperity. Bishop, there is in the accusations about the economic malaise obtaining in this country, I just want to cite a very practical issue. All your parents, for those who are here and those who are older, you all contributed to a pension fund. You all contributed to a pension fund. Today, none of those pension funds are being paid to people who have retired. We have an economic player in this country, and a major economic player, which was the repository of all those pension funds, the deferred consumption funds of the people of Zimbabwe, which means that is the major source of investment for this country. That company took all the money which was contributed, expatriated it. Today it has come back to this country to restart business after closing its headquarters in London. They lost money to Lehman Brothers, they lost money to Chinese investments, they lost money to American investments, they lost money to Swedish investments. Your money, your biggest pool of investments, which should be driving the economy of this country. All the properties in this city, 80% are owned by that company. It's a private company. But nobody questions or relates your present predicament to the fact that you lost investments which were your savings to that particular company. And there's an expectation that the government will do a miracle. If there is any blame I would give to the former government, because this was derelict in letting such a regulatory financial environment become what it was. But perhaps they were complicit because there was an aim to make sure that the economy collapses. What am I saying? When we look and analyze what are the conditions of a country, let's go deeper than skimming on the surface with accusations about a particular one item, human rights, this human rights, this government, that, without fundamentally understanding what is the cause of our present economic predicament and what was the reason why it was done that way. You know, we were brought to question, my generation, 90 decades of complacence to Ian Smith. We challenged it, we were young, I was 19, others were 12. And we changed the condition to make it possible for you to talk of human rights. We were not talking about that. It was not possible. Can we go a little bit deeper and question so that we can try to understand why do we have a centralized economy? Why do we accept that your money which has been earned as a foreign currency belongs to the state and the state gives it to the central bank and then the central bank allocates it to anybody else? Why do we accept things like that? It's private property. Why shouldn't the Korokosas keep their money? Why shouldn't the tobacco farmers keep their money, their US dollars? No, they are all centralized. An economic model which comes from the past, we don't challenge those things. Then we become poor, then we start fighting at each other, and we don't understand why we become poor. Please, 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 let's try to be deeper. Because Zimbabweans, we learn without being knowledgeable. And this is the bane of this country. Yes. The young man, I defer to the young. You see, if you are elected, there are obligations about being elected. All these laws, first, they have not been passed, so you are criticizing they have not been signed. But if they were passed in Parliament, you were in Parliament. That was the forum for you to criticize those institutions. Well, if you don't get enough members in Parliament and then you get defeated, that's what is called democracy. Then, secondly, if you are elected to Parliament, then you must go to Parliament and do your job. But if you abscond and then the president is reading the presidential State of the Union address and you are not there, then you can't debate properly. Then you are doing a disservice to your constituents. Please go to Parliament and do what your electorate voted you for. Thirdly, there are issues about compliance with an electoral system. A football game has got 90 minutes. If it's not over 90 minutes, there's extra time, 30 minutes. If it's not over, there is a penalty shootout. Then the game is over. Now we have a party which wants a game to go on forever and ever and ever and ever. We finished elections in 2018. They want the country to be in election mode until 2023. So the country can't be governed. And in the meantime, precious national management time, which should be used to address the economic issues, it is given to internecine quarrels I want to fight, I want to rule, I want to rule, I want to rule. I mean, why can't Nelson one day go to Mnangagwa say, we can quarrel about our differences, but let's get on a plane, go to London, see capital of Zimbabwe, go to Beijing, see capital of Zimbabwe, go to Washington, see capital of Zimbabwe, go to Tokyo, because this economy does not wait for our quarrels. We continue to slide to be into poverty. Never in one day do they want to talk about that. You have people brothers who quarrel the whole day, then they burn the house at the end of the day as a spectacle to the village. Then when the house has been burnt, the villagers going to sleep and they have nowhere to sleep. That's what we are today. We have to change the way we do and realize what the sustenance of an economy is beyond party politics.
Going once.
Thank you. The point of order. Respected Mfume, you are a lawyer. I also tried to be a lawyer. That's what I studied before I went to war at university. But I'm an economist and I'm a finance man. And when I spoke about what I think are the underlying causes of Zimbabwe's non-performance today, I was speaking as an economist. It's not proper for you then to try to interpret my words and put a twist to what I was saying. It would be proper for you to refer the same question back to me to say explain rather than twist what I was saying. I still go back. The biggest source of investments in any country is deferred consumption. That is pensions and insurance premiums. That's that drives most countries' economic development. In this country, we have one major private insurance company, and everybody knows it. And that company is no longer, it took what was people's contribution, private assets of people, your private contributions, were shareholders in that company. It demutualized, and you ended up without being paid anything for all your life's work, for retirement. Nobody questions, but the country lost its biggest source of investment. Now we have Chinese, we have Indians coming to do Batoka, 100% external funding. Where is Zimbabwe's contribution when we've been in the economy for so many years? Nobody questions these things. That's much more fundamental in terms of the non-performance of this economy than trying to, I've been courageous to pinpoint some black people who are running around masquerading as business people when they are real fronts for these companies. But it is these companies which are really the root of the cartels. And you need to understand that. And as a lawyer, maybe you also need to question why people's money is privatized when they earn foreign currency and it is then distributed by the central bank. Maybe we need a court case to go and challenge that, because that's not under the Constitution. But your party, because it is more concerned with settling scores with the existing government, you don't question those things. We spend all our time quarreling and shouting at each other over frivolous matters, but not things of bread and butter to the Zimbabwe people. That's what is more important to me. Let's unite and question the economic model which can bring prosperity to Zimbabwe, rather than to continuously fight for human rights and power when people are hungry. The second thing is that he has raised the issue of sanctions. When you are pilloried by the biggest economy on earth and you are a little Zimbabwe, you pay a price. And this is why we have all the things you are talking about, no infrastructure in urban areas. And urban areas suffer because you can't get money from the World Bank, you can't get money from investors, you can't get money from anywhere. You cannot run a modern economy without foreign direct investment. And the foreign direct investment starts at local community level, at the town level. No MDC councillor of record has ever gone abroad to go and ask for investors to come and put money to revive industries, to revive factories, to revive anything. You have never flown out of this country to go and look for money in the capital markets. So how do you expect the country to develop? But every day we are clamoring about what happened to an election. Can we try to focus on things which bring bread and butter to the people on the table? And that starts with councillors. That's why they're elected. In America, investment starts at local level, not at central government level, because an investor will look and say, where do I put my factory? He needs a councillor, he doesn't need a minister for that. It's your responsibility. Maybe you need to understand that as an economist. Somebody says, New Republic, Second Republic. I'll answer for myself first. In the First Republic, I was only in government for 10 years plus before I became ambassador. The other part of my life, I've been a businessman. I'm behind the internet in this country. I've been behind the tobacco industry. I've not been part of the government of Zimbabwe. But more than that, I risked my life to remove Mugabe. You have never been a change agent, so you don't understand those things. All you can be is to be an armchair critic of what other people do. Beatrice knows what I went through to try to get Mugabe removed. It was no easy matter. So please have a little respect for when other people take risks,
Thank you, sir.
which you never do take. The president also took risks. He almost was killed. And we are saying because he was, it was a joke for him to be nearly killed by Mugabe. It was a change agent. This is important to respect when other people take risks to change things in your country.
Thank you.
The first one concerning treason. People may want to know, President Trump is actually going through an impeachment process now. Whether it will succeed is another issue. But he invited Ukraine to take part in American domestic politics, to investigate a former American president who is a prospective candidate, Mr. Biden. And the Americans have taken umbrage from it and is before his Congress. That is what Zimbabwe should be doing about people who call for sanctions.
Thank you.
Secondly, I appeal, when will Chamisa reach out to ZANU-PF as the leader of the main opposition so that we talk of a common investment agenda for the country? That shouldn't be a point of difference between him and President Mnangagwa, between MDC and ZANU-PF, because we all want bread on the table. Can we change subject and talk about bread and butter, which means investments to build a modern country? Thirdly, can the MDC councillors, they've been in the urban councils for 20 years, can they show us one investment-friendly document and one trip which they've made to the capital markets of the world where the investors come from, to try to make sure that our towns don't decay, so that they can be revived, so that people can get jobs, so that they can be electricity, they can be water, because investors are the ones who drive those investments, not politics. Thank you.